The void beyond Neptune had never seen anything like it. For 47 years, the orbital shipyards had labored in silence, assembling the greatest achievement of human engineering. Now, as the final construction drones detached from its hull, the UNSC Indomitable Will hung in space like a sleeping god made of metal and purpose. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the construction station, her reflection ghostly against the viewport. Behind her, the mammoth warship stretched 12 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull was dark gray, studded with weapons batteries that could crack planets. Hangar bays large enough to swallow city blocks dotted its flanks. The ship's reactor cores burned with enough power to light a small star. She had dreamed of commanding a starship since childhood. She had not dreamed it would be a weapon this terrible. Beautiful, isn't she? Commander James Park stepped beside her, his coffee steaming in the recycled air. His eyes held excitement where hers held doubt. Humanity's first real step into deep space. First step? Elena turned to him. James, we built a battleship before we built a proper exploration vessel. We armed ourselves before we knew if there was anyone out there to fight. Can you blame them? Park gestured to Earth, a blue dot visible through the viewport. 400 years of scanning the stars and finding nothing but silence. The silence scared them more than noise ever could. He was right, of course. Humanity had reached for the stars with trembling hands, wondering why no one had reached back. Every failed SETI program, every empty exoplanet, every decade of cosmic quiet had fed the fear. Were they alone? Or was something out there choosing to ignore them? So they built the Titan class, just one, a ship that could survive first contact no matter what form it took. Captain Vasquez, Commander Park. A young ensign approached, his tablet glowing. Admiral Chen is requesting your presence in the command center. The Indomitable Will is ready for her shakedown cruise. Elena took a deep breath. Then let's wake the giant. The bridge of the Indomitable Will was a cathedral of screens and stations. 200 officers worked at their posts across 3 levels. The captain's chair sat elevated at the center, giving Elena a view of organized chaos. Every system hummed with power. Every crew member knew they were making history. All stations report ready, Captain, Park announced from his position beside her chair. Take us out, Helm. Nice and easy. Elena gripped the armrests. Let's see what she can do. The massive ship drifted away from the construction yards on maneuvering thrusters. Once clear, the main drives engaged. The Indomitable Will moved through space like a knife through water. Grace that defied its size. They ran the ship through basic maneuvers for 6 hours. Every test exceeded expectations. She handles like a dream, the helmsman reported, grinning. Responsive as a frigate, sir. Don't let her size fool you, Elena said. This ship can turn on a credit and still pack enough firepower to level a continent. Captain. Dr. Amara Okonkwo's voice crackled over the comm from the science bay. The xenolinguist sounded breathless. We're detecting something at the edge of the heliosphere. An energy signature that doesn't match any known technology. Elena sat forward. Put it on screen. The main view screen shifted to show a field of stars. At first nothing seemed unusual. Then the sensors highlighted it. A shimmer in space, like heat rising from summer pavement. The shimmer moved with purpose. Is it a ship? Park asked. Unknown. Okonkwo's excitement bled through her professional tone. The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever it is, it's using technology we can't even classify. Red alert. Battle stations. Elena's voice cut through the bridge chatter. Alarms blared. Across the ship, 15,000 crew members rushed to their posts. Weapons charged, shields energized. The sleeping giant flexed its muscles. The shimmer coalesced into a physical object. A probe perhaps 3 meters long, shaped like a teardrop made of liquid metal. It hung in space, scanning them. Elena could feel its attention like pressure against her skin. It's examining us, Okonkwo whispered over the comm. Every scanner, every camera on that thing is pointed at our ship. Should we fire a warning shot? The weapons officer's hand hovered over his console. No. Elena stood. We hold. This is first contact protocol. We let them make the first move. For 10 minutes that felt like hours, the probe circled the Indomitable Will. It seemed particularly interested in the weapons arrays and the massive reactor signatures. Then it stopped directly ahead of the bridge as if looking at Elena through thousands of meters of space and metal. Captain, it's transmitting, the communications officer said. Mathematics. A sequence. It's the Fibonacci sequence, sir. Universal constant. They're telling us they understand logic and order. Respond with the same, Elena ordered. Show them we understand, the human response transmitted. The probe pulsed once, a flash of light that sensors registered across a dozen spectrums. Then it did something impossible. Space tore open behind it. A wound in reality that glowed with colors Elena had no names for. A wormhole. A controlled wormhole that appeared and disappeared in seconds. Before vanishing through its impossible door, the probe transmitted one more thing. Coordinates. A location 30 light-years away and a time, 7 days from now. Then it was gone. The wormhole sealed itself. Space returned to normal. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of equipment. Did that just happen? Park's voice was barely audible. Elena turned to her science officer. Confirm those coordinates. Confirmed, Captain. The location is a neutron star system, in an unclaimed region of space. No planets, no apparent resources, nothing that would normally interest anyone. Except now it interests us. Elena sat back down, her mind racing. They watched us. They measured us. And now they've invited us somewhere. Or lured us into a trap, the tactical officer muttered. Maybe. Elena pulled up the coordinates on her personal screen. But we built this ship for exactly this moment. To represent humanity when we finally found out we weren't alone. Her finger hovered over the comm button that would connect her to Earth Command. Once she made this report, everything would change. Humanity would know, finally and forever, that other intelligence existed in the universe. The weight of that knowledge would transform civilization. Open a priority channel to Admiral Chen, she said quietly. The Admiral's face appeared on her screen 30 minutes later, the light delay making real conversation impossible. Elena delivered her report in clear, precise terms. She included every sensor reading, every byte of data the probe had transmitted. When she finished, she added her recommendation. Admiral, we should accept this invitation. The probe showed no hostile intent. It demonstrated technology centuries beyond ours, yet it chose communication over aggression. If we don't go, we'll spend the next 100 years wondering what we missed. She sent the transmission and waited. 47 minutes later, Chen's response arrived. The Admiral's face was grim, but there was fire in his eyes. Captain Vasquez, you have authorization to proceed to the coordinates. This is humanity's moment. Don't waste it. And Captain, the whole world is watching. Make us proud. Elena looked at her crew. Every face showed the same mixture of fear and wonder she felt. They had trained for combat, for exploration, for survival. None of them had truly believed this day would come. Set course for the coordinates, she ordered. Maximum safe speed. And someone wake up Dr. Okonkwo. She's going to want to prepare her first contact protocols. The indomitable will turned in space, its massive bulk moving with predatory grace. The stars ahead held answers to questions humanity had asked for centuries. As the FTL drives charged and the ship prepared to leap into the unknown, Elena whispered a prayer to a god she wasn't sure she believed in. Let us be ready for whatever comes next. The drives engaged. The ship vanished into faster-than-light space, carrying humanity's hopes and fears toward a meeting that would change the galaxy forever. The neutron star burned at the center of space like a wound in reality. Its surface spun at impossible speeds, warping light and gravity around it. But that cosmic violence was nothing compared to what orbited it. The threshold was a station beyond human comprehension. It stretched across 1,000 kilometers of space, rings within rings of metal and light. Some sections looked ancient, weathered by cosmic radiation. Other parts gleamed with technology that made human engineering look like cave paintings. The station had existed for so long that star maps had changed around it. Mother of God, Park breathed beside Elena as the indomitable will dropped out of FTL. How old is that thing? Sensors indicate parts of the structure predate human civilization by millennia, Okonkwo reported from her station. Her voice trembled with academic excitement. Captain, we're looking at archaeological treasure beyond price. This station has witnessed the rise and fall of empires we never knew existed. But Elena's attention was on the ships. Dozens of them, perhaps 50, surrounded the station in organized formations. Each one was different. Organic curves mixed with geometric precision. Ships that looked grown rather than built floated beside vessels of pure crystal and light. Some were small, barely larger than Earth shuttles. Others rivaled the indomitable will in size. Identify and catalog every ship, Elena ordered. I want to know what we're dealing with. The sensors worked overtime. Each scan revealed more impossible things. Ships with no visible engines that somehow moved. Vessels made of materials that shouldn't exist. Energy signatures that violated known physics. And all of them were watching the human battleship with what Elena could only interpret as shock. "Captain, we're being hailed," the communications officer said. "Audio and visual. They're using our language. Put it through." The view screen shifted. A being appeared that made Elena's breath catch. It was crystalline, faceted like a diamond with internal light pulsing through geometric patterns. No face, no obvious features, yet Elena felt intelligence radiating from it. The being spoke, and somehow the voice was warm despite coming from living crystal. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Mediator Jrel of the Galactic Concordat. You have been expected, though your arrival comes at a complicated time." The being's light pulsed in what might have been concern. "Permission to board your vessel? There is much you need to understand and very little time." Elena glanced at Park. He nodded slowly. "Grant permission, Captain. We came here to talk. Ambassador Jrel, you are welcome aboard the Indomitable Will. We'll meet you in Conference Room Alpha." 20 minutes later, Elena sat across from something that redefined her understanding of life. Jrel occupied a specialized chair that seemed to grow from the floor. The crystalline being's light cast rainbow patterns across the walls. Dr. Okonkwo sat beside Elena, her eyes wide, recording everything. Park stood by the door, his hand never far from his sidearm. "You must forgive the reaction to your arrival," Jrel began. Its voice resonated from the crystal itself. "The galaxy has not seen a vessel of your ship's classification in 600 years. The last species to build such a thing used it to conquer 17 star systems before the Concordat stopped them. Our ship is defensive," Elena said carefully. "We built it because we didn't know what was out here. And you emerged armed for war because you assumed the worst." Jrel's light flickered. An understandable but concerning philosophy. The Concordat has spent millennia moving beyond such thinking. Okonkwo leaned forward. "How many species are in this Concordat?" 47 member civilizations, 63 in various stages of integration. The Concordat exists to facilitate peaceful cooperation, trade, and mutual defense. Jrel's light dimmed slightly, or it did until 3 years ago. "What happened 3 years ago?" Elena asked. "The Ktharvian swarm." Jrel's voice carried something Elena recognized despite the alien nature. It was fear. A hive mind species from beyond the galactic rim. They consume everything in their path. Resources, planets, ships. They take what they need and leave nothing behind. For 3 years they have pushed into Concordat space. We have lost 11 colony worlds. Billions of lives. The room fell silent. Elena processed the information. "You're at war. We are defending. There is a difference." Jrel's light pulsed faster. "The Concordat has strict laws against aggressive warfare. But defense is permitted, even required." "And now you arrive in a ship that violates 3 separate treaties regarding Dreadnought-class vessels." "We didn't know about your treaties," Park said from the doorway. "Ignorance is not malice." "This is true." Jrel seemed to look at each of them in turn, though it had no eyes. "But it is still dangerous. Your ship carries weapons that could devastate fleets. Your reactor output exceeds Concordat safe limits by a factor of 20, and you achieved faster-than-light travel in 3 centuries. Most species require 2,000 years. Are you saying we developed too fast?" Okonkwo asked. "I am saying you developed unlike any species we have recorded, and that makes the Concordat nervous." Jrel's light steadied. "There is something else you must know. Your isolation was not accidental." Elena felt cold. "What do you mean?" 50,000 years ago, a beacon was placed around your solar system. It warned all ships away, claiming humanity was pre-emergent and volatile. That beacon only shut down 20 years ago, when your technology reached a threshold level. The Concordat has been watching since then, waiting to see what kind of civilization you would become. "Who placed the beacon?" Elena demanded, unknown. "The technology is older than any current Concordat member, but the warning was clear. Stay away from Earth." Park's hand moved to his sidearm. "Someone marked us as dangerous before we even developed civilization." "Why? That is the question, isn't it?" Jrel's light dimmed to almost nothing. "Perhaps you will help us answer it, if you survive what comes next." Before Elena could ask what that meant, alarms blared throughout the station. Jrel's light flashed urgent colors. The conference room's view screen activated automatically, showing a Concordat official speaking rapid alien language. "Translate," Elena ordered. The ship's computer processed the audio. Emergency. Distress call from the Kalari refugee convoy. Under attack by swarm forces. 18 bioships confirmed. 200,000 civilians in danger. Convoy escorts destroyed. All available ships respond. Jarrell stood, its crystalline body chiming with each movement. The convoy is 3 hours away at best speed. The nearest Concordat fleet is 7 hours distant. By the time help arrives, everyone will be dead. Elena looked at the tactical display. The convoy's position appeared on the map. The indomitable Will was closer than any other vessel. 3 hours if they pushed the engines, maybe 2.5 if they risked structural damage, Captain. Park's voice was quiet but firm. We have to help. We don't know these people, Elena said, though her heart was already making the decision. We don't know the swarm, we'd be jumping into a combat situation blind. We built this ship to protect, Park said. Doesn't matter if we're protecting humans or aliens. It's still the right thing. Elena pulled up the communication link to Earth Command. Admiral Chen's face appeared. 47 light-years away and 30 minutes in the past. She couldn't wait for his approval. By the time any response arrived, the convoy would be gone. Dr. Okonkwo, Elena said slowly. If we do this, if we save those civilians, what message does it send? The xenolinguist thought for a moment. That humanity's first act among the stars is to risk everything for strangers. That we came prepared for war but chose mercy. She paused. Or it could be seen as us showing off our military power. First contact is complicated, Captain. Everything about this is complicated. Elena stood and faced Jarrell. If we save that convoy, will the Concordat see us as allies or threats? That depends on how you save them, Jarrell said. And whether you survive. Elena made her decision. Commander Park, sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations. Helm, plot a course to the convoy's position. Maximum speed, safety protocols optional. Captain, Earth Command hasn't authorized it, an officer began. I don't care. Elena's voice cut through the bridge chatter. There are 200,000 lives about to be erased from existence. We have a ship capable of changing that, so we're going to change it. Admiral Chen can court-martial me later if he wants. The indomitable Will turned in space, its massive bulk pivoting with surprising speed. The FTL drives charged, pulling power from every available system. On the view screen, Elena could see other ships watching them, wondering what the humans would do. Ambassador Jarrell, Elena said as the crystal being prepared to leave. When we get back, I want to know everything about that beacon. Someone marked humanity as dangerous 50,000 years ago. I intend to find out why. If you survive, Jarrell said again. The swarm does not retreat. The swarm does not negotiate. You will face an enemy that cannot be reasoned with. Then it's a good thing we brought the biggest gun in the galaxy. Elena strapped into her command chair. Take us to FTL. Let's show the galaxy what humans do when strangers need help. The ship jumped, vanishing into impossible speed. Behind it, the threshold station watched in silence. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if humanity's first battle would be its last. The threshold's grand council chamber was designed to humble. It stretched upward for 300 meters. Its walls covered in symbols from civilizations that had risen and fallen before humans discovered fire. Representatives from 47 species occupied floating platforms arranged in a sphere, each positioned according to complex diplomatic protocols humanity had no part in creating. Elena stood at the center, feeling very small and very alone. Park and Okonkwo flanked her, but the three humans seemed like children in a room full of ancient beings. The species around them defied description. Beings of light and shadow, creatures that existed in multiple dimensions, a species that communicated through controlled nuclear reactions in their chest cavities. Ambassador Mediator Jarrell floated nearby, its crystalline form pulsing with diplomatic concern. They will ask difficult questions, Jarrell had warned before the session. Try not to start a war with your answers. A being that looked like liquid mercury held in a humanoid shape rose to speak. Its voice echoed from every direction at once. The Concordat recognizes the humans of Earth. You have requested formal consideration for membership. Before we proceed, you must answer for your vessel. The indomitable Will exceeds all agreed-upon limits for military craft. Explain why your species chose to build a weapon of such magnitude. Elena took a breath. She had rehearsed this moment, but none of her preparations felt adequate. We built our ship because we were afraid. We reached for the stars alone, hearing nothing but silence. We didn't know if that silence meant we were alone or if something out there was choosing not to answer, so we built a ship that could protect us from whatever we found. Fear is justification for overwhelming force. A reptilian creature with 6 eyes spoke from above. The Threndian Empire also used fear to justify their conquests. They also built ships like yours. We had to stop them. We're not conquerors, Park said, his voice steady. We're explorers who came prepared for the worst. The worst often finds those who prepare for it. This voice came from below, from a being that looked like it was made from living plants. By building such a weapon, you invite conflict. You make others fear you, and fear breeds violence. With respect, Okonkwo stepped forward, her academic instincts taking over. Isn't that exactly what's happening right now? You fear us because we're different, because we developed quickly, because we don't fit your expectations. But we're here asking to talk, not threatening anyone. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Though Elena couldn't tell if it was approval or anger, species communicated in ways she couldn't interpret. Some reactions she could see, others she could only feel as shifts in the air or changes in light patterns. The human raises a valid point. Drell's voice cut through the noise. The Concordate's founding principle is dialogue before judgment. We cannot condemn a species for preparing to defend itself, especially when that species developed in complete isolation. Isolation that was enforced by the beacon, Elena said. She had been waiting for the right moment to bring this up. Someone marked our solar system as forbidden territory 50,000 years ago. We'd like to know who and why. The chamber fell completely silent. Elena felt the weight of that silence like physical pressure. She had touched on something that made even these ancient species uncomfortable. Finally, a voice spoke from the shadows. It sounded old, older than any sound Elena had ever heard. The beacon's creators are lost to time. But the warning was clear. Humanity's ancestors encountered another species and destroyed them utterly, so thoroughly that only warnings remain. Elena felt her stomach drop. What? 50,000 years ago, before your species had written language, something happened on Earth. Archaeological evidence suggests a conflict between early humans and another intelligent species. When it ended, only humans remained. The victors were deemed too dangerous to contact until they matured. That's impossible, Park whispered. Our ancestors were using stone tools 50,000 years ago. How could they fight an interstellar species? How indeed? The shadowy being moved into better light. It was huge, vaguely insectoid, with mandibles that clicked as it spoke. Perhaps you were always destined to be warriors. Perhaps that is simply what humans are. Elena wanted to argue, but doubt crept in. Humanity's history was written in blood. Every advance came with a price. They had reached the stars, but they had also nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times along the way. Maybe the beacon was right to warn others away. Enough of ancient history. The Mercury being's voice boomed. We face a present crisis. The Ktharvian swarm advances. We lose ground daily, and now humans appear with a ship powerful enough to shift the balance. The question is simple. Can we trust you? Before Elena could answer, alarms shrieked through the chamber. A holographic display materialized at the center, showing a star map with red indicators spreading like infection. A Concordat official appeared, panic clear despite alien features. Emergency transmission. The Kalari refugee convoy is under attack. Civilian vessels. 200,000 souls. 18 swarm bioships confirmed. All escort craft destroyed. They're defenseless. The chamber erupted in multiple languages. Elena's translator struggled to keep up. The essence was clear, though. The convoy was 3 hours away. The Concordate fleet was engaged elsewhere. No one could reach them in time. How long before the swarm destroys them? Someone asked. Minutes. Maybe an hour if they're lucky. Elena looked at the tactical display. The convoy's position burned in her mind. The indomitable will could reach them. Not easily, not safely, but possible. 2.5 hours if they pushed every system to the limit. Captain Vasquez. Drell's light pulsed urgent colors. What you are considering is dangerous. You would reveal your ship's capabilities. You would enter combat against an enemy you don't understand, and you have no authorization from your government. I know, Elena said quietly, then louder to the entire chamber. How many species are represented in that convoy? The Concordate official checked data. 12. Families fleeing the swarm, advanced children, elderly, they were promised sanctuary. Elena looked at Park. Her executive officer nodded once. She looked at Okonkwo, who whispered, This is how we introduce ourselves to the galaxy. Concordat representatives. Elena's voice rang through the chamber. You asked if you can trust humanity. We can't answer that with words, but we can answer with actions. She turned to face as many species as possible. The indomitable will is the closest ship to that convoy. We're going to save them. You risk your only warship for strangers? The reptilian Threndian asked. We risk it for people who need help. That's what the ship was built for. Elena activated her comm link. Commander Park, return to the ship. General quarters. We're going to war. Captain, this is madness. A being made of swirling gas spoke up. The swarm doesn't retreat. They will destroy you. Maybe. Elena smiled grimly. But they're going to have to work for it. And maybe, just maybe, we'll surprise them. She strode toward the exit, Park and Okonkwo following. Jarrell's voice stopped her at the door. Captain Vasquez, if you do this, there is no going back. You will have made an enemy of the swarm. They will hunt you. They will hunt your entire species. Elena turned back. Ambassador, someone marked my ancestors as dangerous 50,000 years ago. Whatever they saw in us, whatever made them afraid, it's still in our DNA. We're good at exactly one thing, surviving threats that should destroy us. The swarm wants to be a threat? Let them try. She walked out of the chamber while 47 species watched in stunned silence. Some saw bravery, others saw arrogance, a few saw hope, and one or two ancient species saw something else entirely. They saw shadows of a species they thought was extinct, resurrecting itself in human form. On the bridge of the indomitable will, Elena dropped into her command chair. Her crew looked at her with faith she hoped she deserved. On the view screen, other ships began pulling away from the threshold, giving the human warship room to maneuver. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. The communications officer looked nervous. Admiral Chen, delay it until we're in FTL, Elena ordered. I don't want to hear him tell me to stand down. Set course for the convoy. Maximum speed. And someone wake up the weapons crews. We're about to find out if humanity's first impression is going to be its last. The ship turned, its massive bulk moving with deadly grace. Every system charged. Every weapon armed. 15,000 crew members prepared for combat against an enemy they had never seen. FTL drives ready, Captain. Elena thought about the 200,000 civilians waiting to die. She thought about the galaxy watching to see what humans would do. She thought about a beacon placed by someone who saw humanity 50,000 years ago and decided the universe needed a warning. Take us in, she said, and tell the convoy we're coming. Tell them Earth doesn't abandon people who need help. The indomitable will jumped to FTL, vanishing in a flash of impossible light. Behind it, in the Threshold's council chamber, species began choosing sides. Some bet humanity would die gloriously. Others bet they would flee when faced with the swarm's fury. But a very few ancient species bet on something different. They bet that 50,000 years ago, something had recognized what humanity could become, and they bet that prophecy was about to come true. The galaxy held its breath and waited for the Kalari Corridor was named for the species who discovered it, a peaceful people who had mapped safe passages through dangerous space. Now it was a graveyard. Debris from destroyed ships tumbled through the void. Each piece representing lives ended in fire and vacuum. The indomitable will dropped out of FTL at the edge of the battlefield, and Elena's heart sank. The convoy stretched across thousands of kilometers, hundreds of civilian ships trying desperately to flee. They were colony vessels, transports, converted cargo haulers. None of them were built for combat, and tearing through them like sharks through fish were the swarm. Mother of God, Park whispered. The swarm bioships defied human understanding of vessel design. They were living things grown rather than built. Organic curves and biological weapon systems that pulsed with bioluminescent light. Each ship was easily a kilometer long, covered in what looked like chitinous armor. They moved with insect-like precision, coordinated by the hive mind that connected them. 18 confirmed, the tactical officer reported, her voice shaking slightly. They're firing some kind of organic projectile. Acid-based from the readings. It's eating through the convoy ships like they're paper. Elena watched civilians die in real time. A transport vessel tried to turn away. Too slow and too late. A swarm ship fired and green biological matter splashed across the transport's hull. The metal dissolved in seconds. The ship broke apart, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. How many dead already? Elena asked quietly. Best estimate 13,000. Captain, if we don't act now, there won't be anyone left to save. Elena stood, her command chair forgotten. All hands, this is the captain. We came to the stars hoping to find friends. Instead, we found evil eating the innocent. Everything we built, every weapon on this ship was made for exactly this moment. Today we show the galaxy who humanity is. Today we fight. The crew roared approval, their voices echoing through the ship's intercoms. 15,000 humans ready to face nightmare. Tactical, what are their weak points? Unknown, Captain. We've never fought them before. Best guess is target the bioluminescent nodes. They might be sensory organs or weapon systems. Then we make them hurt and learn as we go. Elena's voice was ice and iron. All weapons free. Target the ships attacking civilians. Railguns, missiles, everything. Show them what human war looks like. The indomitable will surged forward at full combat speed. The massive battleship closed the distance in seconds, its weapon systems locking onto targets. The first salvo was a statement. 50 railgun rounds traveling at relativistic speeds, each one carrying enough kinetic energy to level a city block. The rounds struck a swarm bioship amidships. The organic armor cracked. The ship shuddered, and then it turned toward its attacker, the hive mind recognizing a greater threat. Incoming, the tactical officer shouted. The swarm ship fired back, launching globs of that acid biological matter. The indomitable will's point defense systems came alive, shooting down projectiles before they could hit. But some got through. The acid splashed across the battleship's armor, eating into the ablative plating. Damage report. Outer hull compromised in sections 12 and 15. The armor's holding, but that stuff is nasty, Captain. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Fire again. Double the rate. I want that ship dead. The battleship's weapons systems roared. Missiles streaked through space, each one a small nuclear device wrapped in targeting systems. They impacted the wounded swarm vessel, and this time the damage was catastrophic. The bioship split apart, its organic structure unable to withstand the assault. It died thrashing, its bioluminescence fading to nothing. First kill confirmed, Park said, his voice tight with tension. But the others are regrouping. They're changing tactics, he was right. The swarm ship stopped attacking the convoy and turned their full attention to the indomitable will. 18 became 17, and now all 17 were moving with coordinated precision toward the human battleship. They recognize us as the threat, Elena said. Good, that means fewer civilians dying. Helm put us between them and the convoy. We're the shield now. The massive ship positioned itself, its bulk creating a wall between predator and prey. Behind the indomitable will, civilian vessels began coordinating their escape. But Elena knew they wouldn't escape fast enough. She needed to buy time. Commander Park, take a team and coordinate the evacuation. Use our shuttle bays, our cargo holds, every available space. Pack as many civilians as possible into our ship. If we're going down, we're taking survivors with us. Park hesitated for only a second. Aye, Captain. We'll save as many as we can. He rushed from the bridge while Elena faced the approaching nightmare. 17 swarm vessels against one human ship. The math wasn't in their favor, but math had never stopped humanity before. The swarm attacked as one. Dozens of acid projectiles filled the space between ships. The indomitable will's defenses shot down most of them, but the sheer volume was overwhelming. Acid burned through armor in multiple locations. Damage reports flooded in from across the ship. Sections 5, 8, and 20 compromised. We're venting atmosphere. Emergency bulkheads holding. Return fire. All batteries. I want constant bombardment. The human warship became a fortress of fury. Every weapon system fired in rotation, creating a continuous stream of destruction. Railguns tore through bioships. Missiles exploded against organic armor. Laser batteries burned holes through chitinous plating. The swarm ships took damage, but they kept coming. 2 more bioships died, ripped apart by human weapons. But the survivors were learning. They stopped charging straight in and began flanking maneuvers using their superior numbers to attack from multiple angles. They're smart, the tactical officer said. They're learning our patterns. Then we change patterns. Elena pulled up the ship's weapon inventory. There, at the bottom of the list, was the experimental system, the Nova Lance, a weapon that focused the ship's reactor output into a beam of star core temperatures. It had never been tested in combat. Hell, it had barely been tested at all. Tactical, prepare the Nova Lance. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew about the Lance, everyone knew it was risky. The weapon drew so much power that firing it could damage the ship's reactor. And if it failed, they would be defenseless. "Captain, the lance is untested," the weapons officer said carefully. "If something goes wrong, then something goes wrong and we die fighting instead of running. Charge the system. I want full power." Deep in the Indomitable Will's engineering section, reactors that could power a small city redirected their output to a single focusing array. The ship's lights dimmed as power drained from everything non-essential. On the bridge, targeting computers calculated angles and distances for a weapon that had only existed in simulations. Multiple swarm ships closing. "They're concentrating fire on our engineering section. Captain, they're trying to kill our engines. They want to cripple us before we can escape." Elena watched the enemy ships tighten their formation. They're making themselves a perfect target. Tactical. Lock the Nova Lance on the center of their formation. "Locked, Captain. Ready to fire on your mark." Elena looked at the view screen. Behind the Indomitable Will, Park's evacuation shuttles were pulling civilians from dying ships. They had saved maybe 50,000. A quarter of the convoy. Not enough. Never enough. But something. The swarm focused all fire on the battleship's engines. Explosions rippled across the stern. The ship shuddered. Emergency alarms screamed through every deck. Engineering reports critical damage. "We're losing reactor containment. Captain, if we don't shut down now, we risk a core breach." Elena smiled, cold and fierce. "Tactical, fire the Nova Lance." Firing, the universe went white. The Indomitable Will's bow split open, revealing the focusing array. Every reactor poured its fury into a single beam of energy, so intense it was visible as a solid line across space. The beam struck the center of the swarm formation and reality bent. For 3 seconds, a piece of a star existed where there had been vacuum. The temperature reached millions of degrees. Matter didn't burn or melt at that temperature. It simply ceased to exist. 10 swarm bioships vanished, erased from the universe by human fury. Then the beam cut off. The Indomitable Will's reactors screamed in protest. Half the ship's systems went offline. Emergency power kicked in, barely keeping life support active. On the bridge, consoles sparked and died. "Damage report," Elena gasped, her ears ringing from the overload. "Reactor 3 is gone. Reactors 1 and 2 are operating at 30%. We've lost main weapons, shields are down, and..." The officer's voice broke. "Captain, engineering reports massive structural damage. We're venting plasma from a dozen hull breaches. But on the view screen, only 7 swarm ships remained, 7 out of 18, and those 7 were retreating, the hive mind recognizing that it had encountered something it couldn't easily defeat. "They're running." Park's voice came over the comm from the hangar bay. "Captain, they're actually running." Elena slumped in her chair, exhaustion crashing over her. "How many civilians did we save?" 187,000. "We lost 13,000 before we arrived and about..." Park's voice choked. "About 20,000 more in the crossfire." 2 weeks after the battle, the Indomitable Will hung in dock at the threshold like a wounded animal. Repair drones swarmed over its hull, sealing breaches and replacing damaged sections. The massive battleship looked like it had fought a war and barely survived. Which was accurate. Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the observation lounge watching the repairs through floor-to-ceiling viewports. Her reflection stared back and she barely recognized herself. Dark circles under her eyes. New lines on her face. The weight of command had always been heavy, but now it felt crushing. "You should sleep," Dr. Okonkwo said, approaching with 2 cups of coffee. "You've been awake for 30 hours. Can't sleep." Elena took the coffee gratefully. "Every time I close my eyes, I see those 20,000 civilians who didn't make it. The ones we were too slow to save. You saved 187,000. That's not nothing. Tell that to the families of the dead." Okonkwo sighed and looked out at the station. "The galaxy is talking about us. Did you know that? We're famous, or infamous, depending on who you ask." Elena had seen the reports. Footage of the battle had spread across every concordant network. Humans, the newcomers, the isolated species no one had ever met, had charged into battle against the swarm and won. Some species called it heroic, others called it reckless. The Threndian Empire called it a threat that needed to be addressed. "What's the council saying?" Elena asked. "They're voting today on our membership. It's close. The Harmonious Coalition still wants to quarantine us. They say any species that builds a ship like ours is too dangerous to trust. But the free traders and several refugee species are arguing in our favor. Okonkwo paused. The swarm survivors we rescued are testifying, telling the council how you positioned your ship as a shield, how you took damage meant for them. We did what anyone should have done. That's the point, Elena, most species wouldn't have. The Concordat has become comfortable. They debate and discuss while people die. You acted. That scares them almost as much as your weapons. Commander Park entered the lounge, his tablet glowing with updates. Captain, you're going to want to see this. We've finished analyzing the swarm bioships we destroyed. And they're not as organic as we thought. There's technology embedded in the biological structure. Advanced technology. Someone designed these things, engineered them to be weapons. Park pulled up a hologram showing the ship's internal structure. See these nodes? They're control systems. The biological parts are just the frame. The real intelligence is technological. Elena studied the image. So the swarm isn't just a hive mind. Someone created them as weapons, or they assimilated technology from species they conquered. Either way, they're more dangerous than the Concordat realizes. And Captain? Park's expression darkened. We also finished translating some of the swarm's communication signals. They're not random. They're coordinated, and they mentioned Earth specifically. What did they say? Priority extinction target. Original threat confirmed. Eliminate completely. Park met her eyes. They know about us now, and they want us dead. Before Elena could respond, alarms echoed through the station. Not combat alarms, but priority alert signals. Her comlink activated. Captain Vasquez, your presence is required in the council chamber immediately. Ambassador Jrel's voice carried urgency. Something has happened. The council chamber was chaos when Elena arrived. Species shouted in dozens of languages, their translator devices struggling to keep up. Jrel floated near the center, its crystalline body pulsing with distress colors. What's going on? Elena demanded. Jrel turned to her. The swarm has responded to their defeat. They've sent a message to the entire Concordat, and they've named humanity as their primary target. A holographic display materialized showing a star map. Red markers indicated swarm fleet movements. And all of them, every single fleet, was turning toward a single destination. Earth. How many ships? Elena asked, her voice hollow. Current count is 300 bioships. More are joining from outlying territories. Captain, they're not just attacking. They're mounting an invasion force specifically to destroy your homeworld. The chamber fell silent. Every species representative looked at Elena with expressions ranging from sympathy to fear. The reptilian Threndian stood. The humans brought this upon themselves. Their reckless action has made the swarm focus on the Concordat's newest member. We should withdraw support and let humanity face the consequences of their aggression. Aggression? Park stepped forward, his fists clenched. We saved civilians. We did the right thing. You revealed your capabilities. You challenged the swarm directly. Now they will crush you, and possibly drag the Concordat into a larger war. The Threndian's 6 eyes focused on Elena. Your species is 3 weeks old in galactic terms. You've already made a powerful enemy. How long do you think you'll survive? Elena wanted to argue, but doubt crept in. 300 swarm ships heading to Earth. The planet had orbital defenses, some military vessels, but nothing compared to the indomitable will. And her ship was crippled, weeks away from being combat ready. When will they reach Earth? She asked. Jrel's light dimmed. 3 months. Maybe less if they push their biodrives. 3 months to prepare for an invasion that could end humanity. Elena felt the weight of every decision she'd made. She had wanted to save lives. Instead, she might have doomed her entire species. The council will vote on humanity's membership, Jrel said. But even if you're accepted, the Concordat cannot mobilize enough forces to defend Earth in time. Your world is too far from established fleet positions. Then we defend ourselves. Elena straightened, forcing confidence into her voice. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions. We'll survive this too. Captain. A new voice spoke from the shadows. The ancient insectoid being that had mentioned the 50,000-year-old beacon emerged into light. Before you face the swarm, there is something you must know. Dr. Okonkwo has been researching the beacon around your solar system. She has made a discovery. Okonkwo stepped forward, her tablet displaying information. I analyzed the beacon's warning message in detail. It mentioned humanity's ancestors destroying another species. I thought it was metaphorical, but... She paused, gathering courage. I found archaeological records. 50,000 years ago, another species visited Earth. They were called the Ktharn. They were peaceful explorers. The same root name as the Catharvian swarm, Elena said slowly. Exactly. The swarm aren't random biological weapons. They're revenge. 50,000 years ago, somehow, humanity's ancestors killed the Ktharn explorers. The survivors fled and spent millennia turning themselves into biological weapons. Now they found us again, and they remember. The chamber erupted in noise. Species argued about whether this changed anything. The Threndian laughed. So humanity has always been violent. This only proves they should be quarantined. Elena felt reality shifting under her feet. Everything made terrible sense now. The beacon warning others away. The swarm's immediate hatred. Humanity wasn't facing random enemies. They were facing ghosts from a past no one remembered. Did we really kill them? She whispered to Okonkwo. Our ancestors with stone tools against an interstellar species? I don't know how, but the evidence suggests yes. And now their descendants are coming to finish what their ancestors started. Jarell's voice cut through the chaos. The council will vote. But Captain Vasquez, you must understand, even if the Concordat accepts humanity, we cannot save you from this. The swarm's hatred runs too deep. Your species faces extinction, and we are powerless to prevent it. Elena looked at the star map, watching red markers converge on Earth's location. 300 bioships, weapons designed specifically to kill. An enemy that had waited 50,000 years for revenge. The math was impossible, but humans had always been good at surviving impossible odds. Ambassador Jarell, Elena said clearly, whatever the council decides, we're going home. The indomitable will is damaged but not destroyed. We'll defend Earth with everything we have. You'll die gloriously, the Threndian said. But you will die. Maybe. Elena smiled, cold and fierce. But we've surprised everyone so far. Our ancestors somehow defeated the Ktharn when they should have been helpless. We built a Titan-class battleship before we knew if anyone was out there. We saved your refugees when everyone said it was impossible. Underestimating humanity seems to be a common mistake. She turned to Park and Okonkwo. Prepare the ship. We leave as soon as repairs allow basic functionality. We're going to Earth and we're going to tell them exactly what's coming. And then what? Park asked quietly. Then we do what humans do best. We survive, we adapt, we fight. Elena looked back at the assembled species. 50,000 years ago, something happened that made the galaxy fear us. Now the swarm is coming to destroy us. Maybe they'll succeed. Or maybe they're about to learn why that beacon was placed around Earth in the first place. The council voted that evening. Humanity was granted provisional membership in the Galactic Concordat by a narrow margin. But the support came with a caveat. The indomitable will would remain the only Titan-class humanity could possess, and human expansion into space would be monitored closely.